All right, we are live. And today we are going to be talking about how do you launch a brand? How do you launch a coaching group without ads, right? I don't know if people understand this or even have a clue that this is even a thing. And I'm going to be honest, you know this. I didn't understand this process until I met you. But it's absolutely amazing, and I would love for you to talk about this because you're unbelievable at putting this kind of stuff together.
All right. Well, first of all, happy Thanksgiving weekend to everybody. And this is Saturday, so I'm going to jump back in the groove today and be working on my launch and what I'm doing. We've got a couple things going on ourselves. There's some neat projects happening. But yeah, man, this is like I don't know. I've been on this mission for a long time, and I've used ads successfully, and I've used email marketing successfully. I've used social media fairly successfully. I've used all these things that people sell, but I also will tell you that the majority of my sales, I'm saying like 99% of my sales, come from relationships.
It's the new currency.
Yeah, relationships. So this falls into one of my eternal principles, right? I look at business principles that are worth developing mastery in, that they'll be true forever. So saying I'm going to be great at Facebook ads, I would rather take a quick course on it or hire somebody to do it. And I'll tell you why, is because that in 15 minutes, whatever that person knows will be irrelevant. But if we learn to think in systems and frameworks and processes around principles that will be true forever, we can grow our business and keep using the same ways of thinking forever. And relationships is that if you think about what an ad really is, or what social media really does, or what email really does, it's a way of corresponding with an audience, either an audience that you have access to or an audience that you're paying for access to. Or in the case of social media, an audience that people hope that they have access to or is paying attention or has gone viral or whatever. And again, in every single one of these instances, I can point out like where I've been successful, where a client's been successful, where a friend of ours has been super successful. Oh, viral TikTok, great. They sold 20,000 units of a product. Hey, they had an email marketing sequence that helped their cart drops. Like people go to their site, put something in their cart, don't buy it, and it helped them recapture a piece of revenue, right? Hey, people run Facebook ads and they get a return on ad spend and help them grow. Of course, these things work. They wouldn't exist if they didn't work. But relationships worked 3,000 years ago. And when we're all like have robot bodies and we're in a little glass tube, we're just a little head floating around on the Mars colony, relationships will still be important.
That's right.
That's the thing.
It is.
Yeah. So when I talk to people about their business, they're stuck because they're spending a lot of time posting useless things online, or just kind of aimlessly pushing content out, putting a lot of effort towards putting content out. Or they've seen that it's a ton of effort and they've kind of given up, because social media it's a black hole. You could put 1x energy, 1,000x energy, 10,000x energy, and you're not going to just, it's not going to go anywhere, right? It's just, it can absorb as much of your life force as you can give it. If you use it intentionally, you're going to get something out of it. But if you're using it, it's not a grind thing. It's not a hustle thing. It's not an energy level thing. It's a tactician thing. So as much energy as you throw in, it'll take it. You don't have enough power to move it to like saturate that market. People just wasted a ton of time. Same thing with ads. I've seen more people honestly lose money on ads than make money. And in general, there's a lot of things that have to be correct in their business for the ads to really be of any benefit. We say this all the time. So they just scale mediocrity, right? They have a mediocre offer, mediocre product, mediocre audience, mediocre messaging, and they just pay money for more people to be kind of disappointed in them. But if we look at all these strategies and then think like their access to audience, but people are a channel. If we understand who we're targeting and who our tribe is, who our community is, then we know, who they respect, who they listen to, who shares the same beliefs, who actually moves the needle for them, right? Who, if they said Corey is like the best salesperson on earth, who would at least give you a chance at bat? They'd watch one of your videos. They'd buy one of your low ticket products. They'd hop on a webinar with you. There's lots of people out there that they truly own the ears of an audience. And from that respect, they're true influencers. They're true thought leaders. They're not influencers in the sense like they show their butt crack on Instagram and they have a lot of like, you know,
meaningless people following.
Meaningless people, like, you know, tell the story of the lady I talked to who she was trying to sell bathing suits to middle-aged moms. And she's like, I have a ton of engagement on my Instagram, but I'm not selling any swimsuits. I like look at her Instagram. It's like a thirst trap, like crazy, right? And I'm like, everybody that likes your pictures is some dude that's trying to flirt with you online. Like, you don't even have any women that follow you. You get wrong audience, right? So, but you think of people like they have their own audience. So if we understand that people are channels, and that relationships matter. So now let's realign all the stupid things that people do. I have a lead magnet out, and I have a special training that's coming out to go on top of this. But I mean, honestly, if you go to End Hype Podcast, these episodes have been wildly popular for me. I got a more response on these than I have on pretty much any podcast that I've done. We're doing a 6-part series. So there's an episode on each one of the parts, and then we have an overview episode. So you can go there and go back a couple episodes. You'll see. But I have a download. It's redbluecollective.com/collab, and you'll get the blueprint. My blueprint, the processes start similar to where you've seen other things. You've seen Dream 100, or you've seen what Ryan talks about, Dream 25. You've seen similar things. I'm going to really focus this in, and I want people to just pick 5 people, only 5. And the reason is that I view my strategies more like a sniper than like a machine gun, right? And, you know, I think Russell Brunson puts out great books, and his podcast is very helpful. But if I listen to 100 people that I wanted to do business with, like, he's thinking of them as affiliates or as podcast guests. Like, he's thinking about them as broad, flat things. Now, I'm an introvert. I think of relationships as very focused and deep relationships. So this strategy is just reflective of me. And I might not be for everybody, but that's okay, because you're going to see that's why this strategy works the way that it works, is because everybody's not for everyone. And you put down those 5 people and you go through this process. And I put a big focus on eliminating people off of your list, not creating the list. It's
hard, right?
It's super hard.
It is hard because you have, like, for example, in our world, like, we follow a lot of really influential people. And if you're doing a list of those people, which I have been doing, it is like, it seems like the list, instead of going smaller, it seems to get bigger. And that's just a part of the process, right?
Well, my assertion here is that it takes one relationship, and that's the goal of my program that's coming out. And it's really what I'm best known for is collaborative launch and collaborative growth strategies, right? So if we know that if you had the one relationship that was so powerful that people would listen to you, that you'd be guaranteed a level of sales or success that you couldn't even stand it, right? If I use the Michael Jordan thing because I don't like basketball. I like shoes, so I understand this. But pretty much everybody understands like the level of fame that Michael Jordan is. If you think he's a dick, we can replace this with Shaq, right? Everybody loves Shaq, right?
Right.
But let's just do like this: is that if Shaq said, "Corey, you're the best salesperson on earth, and everybody should be taking his program," you would not be able to mentally, physically, systems-wise, with your VAs or with all your friends, you wouldn't be able to possibly support the level of business of Shaq saying, "Hey, let's do a project together." You couldn't do it. That's how powerful relationships are, right?
That's right.
If you were to pay him to give you that shout out, it would be millions of dollars. If you were to pay for the ads to get that level of attention, it would be tens of millions of dollars, right? If you had the email list to be the equivalent of that, it would be 100 million emails, right? Literally, maybe even more, right?
Yeah, of like good emails.
Of good emails, right?
Yeah.
Right. And like, so you look and you stack relationships versus the tactics that everyone uses, and this is why I can sell millions of dollars worth of products with 0 ads. It's because for each thing, when I'm going to enter a market, it doesn't matter if it's a nerdy B2B super high-tech product market, right? Or a B2G government product, right? Or it's a interesting artistic consumer product. I've done all of these things. I've done commercial products. I've done artistic products. I've done low volume. I've done high volume. I've done I currently do high-tech B2B products and high-tech B2G products. And for every time that we try to do something, the first thought, once I know that I have something, and we could talk about how I pitch ideas and how I come up with ideas, it's kind of a separate conversation. Once I know I have something, the qualifier, the filtering fact before anything else is who is going to help me bring this to market? What's my go-to-market strategy? Using relationships. Who do I know that can make this thing happen? Who is available out there in my world? Maybe a second or a third connection. Who, if I were to team up with that person, again, I could not possibly keep up with the level of business that they would bring in. And then I reverse engineer that success, whether that's through conversations, pitches, relationship building, business development, or in the case of stuff that we talk about, Corey, it's just using social media intentionally.
But it's also, you gotta have some sort of like, and I think this is important. In order for this to work, you also have to have something of value for the person that you're trying to collaborate with. Like it's got to be beneficial for them also.
Yeah, and this is so fun because the episode that's on Monday is going to be about, it's going to result in how we pitch. And if you look at how I've structured this, now understand that this has been structured through hundreds of examples and instances of using similar approach, is that we don't start with the pitch. That's where people mess up. I don't even start with the idea in this scenario. What it is let's say that you have your company, you do things, you have your zone of genius, you have your zone of excellence. And what I want you to do is I want you to actually engage with those people authentically. What I'm doing is I'm giving you a roadmap to act like a human, because for some reason, when people hit Facebook or they hit the internet, they don't act like human beings anymore. And I would say that a lot of that behavior is spilling out into everyday life, right? So when this person that you say, oh, I respect them, I would do business with them in a heartbeat. When they put out a book, what do? You
should buy it.
You buy the friggin' book, right? And here, I'll do you one better. You read it.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. You say that this person's information is so important. Oh, everything they say is so good. I'll buy that book in a heartbeat. Well, you're never going to get their attention because they are a bestseller, right? We know dozens of bestsellers. That means that a lot of people bought that book. How are you building a relationship if you've just put yourself in the same position as tens of thousands hundreds of thousands, or in the case of somebody like Mark Manson, 10 million people, right? They'd be like, hey, Mark, I bought your book. He's like, yes, so did 10 million other people, you fool, right?
Thanks.
Thanks. But here's what I know is that out of the 10 million people that bought that guy's book, 1 million people read it. And out of the 1 million people that read it, probably 1,000 people reviewed it. And out of the 1,000 people that reviewed it, probably 200 or 300 of them actually did something, helped them out, and messaged him and said, dude, I just want to say I appreciate you. This is what I got out of it. This is what it did for me. I gave the book to my friend. This is the result that they got. Just wanted to say appreciate you. And people put out their information. They don't spend years writing a book because they're thinking, yep, this thing's going to slap so hard. I'm going to make 10 million bucks. They're thinking of this because they have something to say. It's helped them. It's created some kind of clarity or success or fulfillment for them. And they want to give that to somebody else. But the percentages is that most books don't sell 1,000 copies, first of all, right? So when you say best-selling book, that means that it could sell 10,000 copies in that week on Amazon. If it's a New York Times bestseller, 100,000 copies, right? And you do the math, and you realize that in life, 1% is the start of success of anything. You can almost look at this and break it down and say, you know that 9 out of 10 people that buy books don't actually read the book, right? So already you're in the 10%, right? In the 90th percentile, right? You're in the top 10% if you read the book. Now, people that read the book, like how many people really read it and implement it and all that? So if you really respect somebody, you know, replace book with podcast, replace podcast with mini course, replace that with anything. And you start to realize like, oh, I didn't like that book. I didn't read it. They have a podcast. I think it's kind of boring. I don't like what they're doing. Okay, that's totally fine. That's why there's only 5 people on the list, because you just go to the list and say, you know what? That person would not change my life if I did a business with them, because I'm not all in. I wouldn't spend $14.95 buying their book. I won't spend the 30 minutes a week listening to their podcast. I won't share out their content. I won't do the things that are in my blueprint. So you just cross them off the list. No big deal. Replace it with somebody else. That's why you only need 5, not 25 or 100. Now, you can loosen up the rules for 25 or 100, but that's not what I'm doing. I want you to create one relationship that will change your life and change your business. It will alter everything around you without spending money on ads, without harassing people with endless spam emails. You'll be able to create products without guessing what to make, guessing or hoping that people will buy it. Like, it's pretty simple. So we need to actually build a relationship with somebody. But this is what's cool, is that if you know about them, like, you know about what they're talking about, you know about what their audience needs, because hopefully you are part of their audience, right? And you see what that dynamic looks like. It's pretty easy to pitch them, because you have your thing that you do, they have their thing that they do, and you think like, well, what do I have to offer? I need to evolve myself to achieve this goal, right? Goals should evolve you. They're not something to achieve. They're something to become, right? So how do I become the identity of somebody that's worth collaborating with? And what can I present this person that is an opportunity that's so great that they'll do it, not with me doing it for them doing it for me, them advertising it for me, but doing it with me as a peer, right? Who do I have to become for that person? Or what do I have to offer that's over indexes in value because I don't have it in identity for them?
And that's the hard part. That's the hard part, right?
That's the hard part.
Because think about the people that we want to collaborate with. They're like, we're not talking about like, you know, your local guy that's making $1 million. We're talking about collaborating with people that are doing tens and 20 and 30 million, sometimes $1 billion a year. Like when you we're talking about this is again, this goes back to, and I want to drive the point home. The point is that this one person, just one, all they would have to do is say your name, what you do, and you're great, and it would be over, right? And that's the caliber of people you're looking for.
Right, right. And so the problem that I see is that people don't want to make the list because they think that person will never do business with me. I'm just a company that makes soap.
That's right.
I'm just a this. And I'm like, that identity is that's what's holding you back. It's what's preventing you from being successful. It's what is forcing you to use the same tactics as everybody else. We've talked about this a million times, is that people want to be unique, differentiated. They want to be the best, but they do the same stuff that everybody else does, right? Yep. They're trying to be incrementally better. They're like, I want to run better ads. I'm like, that's great. I want to be the best business, right? I can't be the best business by being slightly better than everyone else in one tactic.
That's right.
I need to change what I am.
It's like Tesla, right? Tesla's a great example.
Yeah.
Tesla did something that nobody else has done.
Yeah. Remember those old like Toyota commercials where the person used to say, Toyota, what a feeling, and they jump up in the air and it would pause. Yep. It's like everybody's tactic is that they're Honda and they're like, we need an actor that will jump a little higher.
Right.
Like that's their idea of making a better commercial.
Right.
And Tesla's like, I'm going to make the most valuable company because people are going to give us money when we aren't even earning the actual money in the business, because the level of trust in us in the market is so high that people don't even care. They don't even care. They're buying our business, literally buying the business, buying a stake in the company and the idea based on what it could possibly do in the future, because they believe in it so much that the trust, or at least the buy-in to the vision, is so high that people are willing to pay a multiple of what the company will possibly do in the next few years today, right? And there's no ads.
That's right.
Right. So like if you think of, and again, we talk about identity a lot. We could spin off this, but really the purpose of the collaborative growth blueprint is that you have to become something in the conversation where it makes sense for somebody to collaborate with you. You have to focus in on what your value is, what your messaging is, and you're going to do it through the context of knowing who your community is, who those thought leaders are, actually absorbing, implementing their content, their ideas, right? And being a leader in that community. That's how you're going to get visibility. It seems like, oh, Cal, of course, this is the fact. Of course, like you want to build a relationship with somebody, you got to talk to them, right? But how only successful people do this? I can't.
How am I supposed to get a hold of this guy? How am I supposed to reach out to him?
Yeah.
You don't. You show up.
So they're like, yeah, because what people think is like, I sell soap, so I want to pitch Shaq that he should sell soap for me. Like that's like the level of thinking that they're at, and I'm like, we really have to dial it back. Like, is this the person that their community specifically is around the problem that you're solving? Like, what problem are you actually solving with this? Who cares about that problem? Like, who talks about that problem, right? We actually start creating a map of information and relationships in the market, and we start building those relationships. When I say something like this, is like, yeah, we collaborate with somebody. They're whatever you do with them, it's going to sell. And it sounds so simple, and it is simple, but it's just not easy. But it like, the reaction I get is, of course that would work. And then I tell people how to do it. And again, it's one of those like 1% things where only 1% of the people actually will do it. because they would rather spend $100,000 to get one of the people on the list to promote their thing on their Instagram than to build a relationship so that person puts their name attached to it and promotes it like every hour for a month.
Right.
For free. And people for nothing.
Right. And here's the thing, like all the money that you're going to try to spend for an influencer, what is the outcome? Let's just talk about this for a second. What's the outcome? What's the difference in the outcome if I reach out to whomever, Dan Fleischman, and I want to pay him $100,000 to promote my stuff for a month? Let's just use that example. Or I build a relationship with him through the different avenues of social media. I mean, which one of those makes more sense? Which one am I going to get the most result from Dan Fleischman, for example? Which one is he going to be a better team player on?
Yeah, so we create shared destiny, right? So the whole purpose of this is that you're going to do a collaborative launch, or they will collaborate on the growth of your business. So instead of saying, hey, Dan, like I want to sponsor one of your events, which would be really cool. And it also might be a great way to build a relationship with them. So I'm not throwing that out, but you get that for a moment in time, right? Or, hey, can you post this, or can I hire you with your influencers? Because he has an influencer marketing agency. That I'll be honest with you, that stuff works. But like you're paying to post, and if you know the strategy behind it, like you can get a bump in sales. But it is literally a bump. But if I work with somebody and I say, hey, I know that I can afford 20% customer acquisition cost on this. I'm selling a $100 thing. I can afford $20, $25 to acquire a new customer. Pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
That's my marketing budget. Well, instead of spending that on ads or influencers or whatever, if you did a joint venture with somebody and said, Dan, for every $100 ticket that we sell, I'll give you $25. You don't have to do any of the back end. I'm the quarterback on this. You can review or be as engaged as you want. You can help with the planning. Please help with the promotion. Let's lay out what this relationship looks like in a JV agreement or in a launch agreement or whatever you want to call it. We have some templates in my program. So joint venture, you're usually forming a third entity, an actual business, but this might just be like an understanding. You might have a legal agreement. For me, I had a promotions agreement and bring people on and say like, hey, the cost of the product is $30 for everyone that we sell. We're going to pay you $25. It doesn't matter what channel it comes in, period. You're going to put your name on it. You're going to help design it. Here's the process. So I have a process of launching where we go to their audience. We actually ask their audience, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this existed? Yeah, that would be cool. And start to hype people up by asking their audience and involving them. Fancy that. Hey, should we make a blue one or should we make a red one? Go on this site, sign up with your email address, vote. Whoever wins. Somebody's going to get a free product signed by Dan. You know, that kind of thing. Get a bunch of email lists. So I can give some detailed tactics and hacks another time. But you should just pay attention to the podcast. But the thing is that the value that you're going to get out is you're going to be able to communicate with their audience continually during the process. They're going to message and communicate with it continually. So instead of one Instagram post or one live or a YouTube video, it's going to be a communications process. You're probably going to be already sponsored on that stage or on other things that they're doing. And you're going to be able to attach their name, which is a huge boost. So it's like the difference between you having an excellent product and you having an excellent product with a known entity. This is how you can have associative brand equity. So you're taking the equity of a known brand and you're saying, I'm now a peer, right? I'm a peer. I'm on the same level. What would that do for your speaking career? What would that do for your marketing and your messaging? What would that do to enable you to replicate this? Because that's in the the fifth step of the process to then go take that and say, now that I've drawn first blood, now that I've done this one collaboration, you should just do another collaboration with that same person. Honestly, that's the best thing to do, because you just build a better, even better relationship, even bigger thing. Turn your product into an event, turn your event into a training series, turn your training series into a train the trainer series, into a program. Like there's literally, you can just like keep going down and take this well deeper and deeper and deeper. And this is why there's only 5 relationships, because you just need one really, but 5 is pretty good, right? 100, like, dude, you cannot create enough value. You can't have 100 friends. How many people have 100 friends that they remember their birthday? None, right? How many people have 5 friends they remember their birthday? Very few.
That's right.
Very few. So 5 is a lot, right? 5 is a lot. So that's.
Well, I think this also helps us avoid, becoming overwhelmed and frustrated because of, if you think about, let's just say you got 100. Hell, just taking to 25 people. Try to keep up with 25 people online every day. You'd go crazy. Much less 100.
Oh man, yeah.
I'll
take this as go to your Instagram and go to your Facebook. Now, scroll through it really quickly, and for me, like meme accounts aside, right? So like I have the meme accounts on my Instagram. I probably should cut them out because of the way the algorithm works and the way I'm about to lay this down. But I think it's funny. It makes it more entertaining. But what Facebook does, the algorithm does, what Instagram does, is it shows you what you engage in. All right, period. So if you have those 10,000 fans, 10,000 followers, or whatever it is, I'm sorry, you're following, you're a follower of 10,000 different things. It's showing you random stuff. It doesn't know who you are, where you fit in the world. It is overwhelming and it's time consuming, frustrating to then find those 25 or 100 people that you should be engaging with. So if you took your Instagram and said, I am going to create an account, or I'm going to use my account intentionally, because is it a huge time suck for you? Go look, and are you spending 2 hours a day on Instagram? Probably don't need to for your business, so quit telling yourself that. If it's something that you enjoy, fine. But like make a real conversation with yourself, like, is Facebook valuable? Is LinkedIn valuable? Is Instagram valuable? And if that's the case, understand that its algorithm is showing you who you engage with. You need to tell it, I want to engage with this group of people. So you need to actually go in and say, these are the 5 people. I'm going to put the notification bell on. I'm going to watch their stories every day. I'm going to look at their posts every day. And as you comment on those people's posts, it's going to start showing you more of their posts. And it's going to realign your mess. You just sloppily going through and doing random stuff. You can think of this as like, doing your fitness or your nutrition or anything else randomly. You're going to get random low value results. You're never really going to dive in deep. If you want to go in, all the value in life is in depth, not breadth. Not more of something, but more of something that has impact. So if we can train the algorithm and you can see that it's working in the algorithm, you'll know that you're doing this system right. Is because when you log into Facebook, it's going to show you those important groups. It's going to show you those people first. And so you'll be able to comment really quickly. It's not going to have your Aunt Susan and cat facts, right? Or middle class fancy or whatever it is. It's going to have the things that are important, and you're going to be able to comment really quickly on those things.
Oh, now, another thing too is I would have people look and see, like, how many groups are you a part of? Because
oh my god,
I mean, like,
man,
dude, I was so shocked. Well over 100. And I'm like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. No wonder my feed looks crazy. That's why.
Yep. So this is just a nice thing, man. Clean it up. Clean up your social, right? But Facebook's very advanced with what it shows you. So if you start using it intentionally, it will intentionally show you the things that will have value to you because you can train it. And I'll tell you why this is so important, is that if you wanted to get somebody's attention, here's a little behind the scenes algorithm hack for Instagram. So I try to stay away from being too tactical in these live streams, right? Because stuff changes. But if I comment on your story, Corey, right? And I know that I've shown you this already. The probability of it getting to you and you responding to me is extremely high, right?
Yes.
Pretty high, because it's infrequent
Right.
that people comment on stories. Now, if you DM me back and we follow each other, Instagram's going to think, hey, these guys know each other. So I'm going to take Callie's content and I'm going to shove it in Corey's face all week. Because they've been DMing back and forth. So Corey must value what this person has to say. I'm going to shove this post right in his face. So if you ever thought like, man, let's pick on Dan because he has a huge social presence, right? Mm-hmm. So you think like, man, how can I get somebody like that who has some of the coolest people on earth that he's following that follow him? How do I get my content in front of somebody like that? Well, if you DM him and you do this and you can create some level of a relationship, even if it's just a heart back, Instagram will give you that chance at bat. It'll push a piece of content onto his feed, right? And this is just like one little tactic, but these types of things stack, is that when we use these tools that are available to us that made this the greatest time to be an entrepreneur in human history, if we use these tools intentionally to build instead of enslave ourselves, we can be successful, like almost guaranteed success. And again, like if you're like this, I don't think that I would share this person's post or this person's story, or I don't have anything to say to comment on, like, hey, congratulations, that's amazing. I know you've put in the hard work for this. There's like a real actual comment. Just cross them off the list. It's just not that important to you, you know? But
you got to be specific, right? And you got to really think about, this is not like just a 2-hour project. Like you got to really sit down and think about who really dial it in, because when you start making your list, like I've experienced, the list keeps growing and I'm like, God, all these people could do this thing, but I have to figure out who are the 5 most important.
Right.
To me.
Right. Yeah. And this is going to reduce the amount of time that you spend online, or it's going to increase the level of clarity that you have around what you're doing or what you should be doing, what kind of content that you should be creating. And it opens you up to curation models of content. I know we talked about that. It's just simple. Reposting important things from important people. And important is judged by you, but also by your audience. You know that your audience thinks it's important because they're also that person's audience, right? So if you repost this information, even they don't have 100% reach, you're posting something that they will value, that they think is important. So even curation starts to have a lot of value. But this will reduce your time in creating content from an hour or not doing it a day to a very short period of time that has high impact. And the intent isn't like, I'm not teaching a social media course. I'm just trying to show people there's ways to build relationships with people that you've never personally met or haven't met personally yet, and then to queue that up so you can then do business with them. And I see a ton of mistakes. I just see very high level kind of spammy behavior, trying to close in the DMs. I see people not having anything to offer. So they're like, hey, Corey, I just want to pitch you something. Or, hey, man, you got a moment, I want to pick your brain. I see that. I see, pay to play problems. I see people that are afraid to put people on the list that will change their life. They put people on the list that are their peers. And when we have a coaching session, I talk to them, I say, like, Dude, that's just normal business. That's how normal business works. I'm not saying I shouldn't do a collab with Corey. We do content every week. I'm just saying that that's going to take a lot longer than 60 or 90 days to change my business and change my life. This is something we've been doing for a year, and it's improved my communication. We've met new people. We've, created new programs. Like, it has changed a lot of things in my life. But it's not what we're talking about. That's a whole different strategy. That's a peer engagement strategy. It's very, very important. It is fundamental to how business works today. And I could go off on a whole nother thing about that and why that's absolutely, absolutely critical. But that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about putting somebody on that list that you're like embarrassed that they're on the list.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that this is important how you go about, getting in front of these folks. Do not DM them and say, let's collaborate. Because guess what? You can mark that guy off your list because he's never going to talk to you again. I mean, I'm just, it's just true.
He's just not going to go very, very far. But I don't know. The most simple gut check to me is like, if that person is selling something, you're buying it.
That's right.
The thing, right? I'll give a good example, and we pick up Tony Robbins like every week. This is a good example. I've never seen Tony Robbins. I've never been to, Unleash the Power Within. I've read his books, but there's a difference. Corey, you've actually volunteered at a Tony Robbins event. So if I put him on my list, probably just kind of fake nonsense, because I've had every opportunity available to go to Unleash the Power Within, and I haven't done it because, I'll be honest, like I don't really have a driving desire to do that, right? So for me, if I put him on the list, it would be purely because I'm interested in the transaction, and I do know that if Tony Robbins said, hey, Callie can get your product business straight, he can teach you how to grow it, would that help my business? Absolutely. But from a relationship level, I'm not as bought in that. Now that could change, but it is what it is. It's like, that's my gut check for this list is, I'm not going to put somebody on there that would be successful for me as a business person, but not a relationship as a person. Because that's why I say one relationship that'll change your life and change your business, or change your business and change your life. For me, these things, and as for entrepreneurs, they're intertwined. And I don't want people to put somebody on the list that is aspirational in the sense of a mere transaction. So for you, if you put Tony Robbins on the list, it makes 1,000% sense.
Yes.
Right? That's the difference. And I want people to walk away with this, is that I call this the 5X leader list. These are people that are leaders in your life. Right? And the gut check is if they put out a book, they put out a program, that you would buy it. Now, if they're putting out a $10,000 program, you don't have $10,000. I'm not saying go out there and spend it. I'm saying that if they put out something, if they put out a $20 book on Amazon and you're not buying a copy for you, a copy for your wife, or a copy for your friend, you're not telling a friend about it. If you're not willing to promote the thing that they're put out, then they shouldn't be on the list. If you weren't be willing to sell their thing for free, then why would you want to create a business with that person?
That's right. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but people don't make sense.
No, they don't. And, lots of times I think people this is such the process that you're talking about is very simple. And I really don't think it's very confusing, but I think people may get it confused only because they're like, I just don't know about that. I just don't know if that. I probably need to double the list because if I double the list, I'll double the results. Absolutely not. You're missing the point.
Yeah. I just think of the Shaq analogy again. Right?
Yeah.
You can't handle one of these relationships that we're talking about, because you're going to naturally learn how to calibrate this list to where you are, right? Like, you think about this as peers versus leaders, right? Now, as you become a leader to other people, you're surrounded by other leaders. It's kind of, you see this, like, you're a member of Sean's group, right? Sean has a lot of other people, including Dan, like, in his group as peers, right? So for him, day-to-day business looks like doing events with his peers. Right? To be honest, like, most likely those people aren't going to be on his 5X leader list.
Right.
That's just the way it is. That would just be normal business. It wouldn't be aspirational evolutionary growth. It wouldn't be collaborative growth blueprint. It would be collaborative operations blueprint, or collaborative business blueprint, or whatever it would be a different strategy, right? It would be a different. I'm trying to show you that if you do this, it is not unreasonable to expect to double your business.
Well, look, let's just use a quick example, right? You and I proved this in the last 48 hours, right? You shared something of somebody's that is massively important to you, and that's on your list, right?
Yep.
And then after we had a conversation, I did the same thing. We both got a response back from the individual, right?
Medium.
And so that's powerful.
Yeah. Right, because it works, and so. Like, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this is the thing, is that we live in a universe right now where everybody is trying hacks. They're trying angles. They're trying automations. They're trying a way to wiggle out of doing the hand-to-hand combat to doing the work. So if we take our manual, our things that do not scale, right? It's Reid Hoffman, it's the LinkedIn guy, things that do not scale. If we take that and we move it over to the highest value possible, highest impact actions, and we just do those things, we're so differentiated from everybody else, because everybody else is saying, I'm going to use a bot that's going to hit 10 million people. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine, right? But I'm going to spend, if I could literally sit here and be on my phone and I say, okay, every day you do your thing, right? You do your affiliate marketing program and your Facebook ads, and you spin around like a top, spending money, working all over the place, right? I'm going to build 2 or 3 relationships in an hour a day, right? Because I run multiple real businesses, so I don't have infinite time to dick around online. I'm going to spend an hour-ish building a couple of relationships, and I'm going to outsell you 10 or 100 to 1
in half the time.
Oh, dude, in like 100th of the time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because and this just kind of, it hit me like a lightning bolt, because it's been it's what I have been doing forever. And, I was like, have put in all this work to like crack the code for how would social media work? How would this work? How do we optimize a Shopify page? How do we, how do we do our product photos? How do we do the email sequences? How do we run the ads? Like, how do we create the videos? How do we do live streams for selling? All these tactics. And like, I understand how those work, and those are great, but I can't describe this to you. It's like, I sell millions of dollars worth of product that doesn't exist based on like a rendering on a computer, right? That, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, it'll be kind of like this. And they're like, that sounds great, to the biggest companies on earth. And I'm like, because you open the door with a relationship, and then as you do this over and over and over again, your credibility and trust in the market is so high that when you walk in the room, people are like, you're the world expert at this thing. Yes. Great. Hey, this might solve your problem. Great. I'll buy that. Right. And I think like this is that you need relationships to open the door, right? And you need credibility to be able to actually sell it. It's like you can go to a K-Form website. There's almost no information on that website, right? Now my SEO is on point, but I'll tell you, we don't run ads. I can't even tell you who our customers are. And until they buy it, like they have to sign a bunch of documentation just to be able to get any information out of it.
Well, clarify why people can't, why you don't know the customer. Clarify what you mean by that. Or that you can't talk about the customer, because I think it's important.
Yeah, because what the product does for people is either something of national security, or it is enabling them to do projects that you hear in the news that like a couple years from now that I'll be able to talk about, right? It does something so cutting edge that, or the way that I wrap it up and I sell the vision of it, it does something so cutting edge for large companies that, well, one, I couldn't run ads for it because people, it's a human to human selling. And there's only like 2 decision makers in a multi-billion-dollar business that could say yay or nay. But yeah, it's very specific what it does. It's super niche product.
Yeah, but it's not because you don't know your customer. It's because you can't talk about the product because it's private. It's not something.
Yeah.
Sure, you have the ability to talk about it. It's not you go and get your contract.
Yeah, like I mean, I'll just like I'll assume that people that are watching this don't know what I do outside of coaching. But I mean, I develop products and manufacture products for people. So in general, in the least of those instances, I'm under a lot of NDA or other type of legal agreements. But I'm a hired nerd. I get paid to figure things out and invent things for other people. So I have my own products that we sell, and I've been selling products online for forever. Like literally before you could actually build a website to sell things online, I've been selling things online. And yeah, so it's like I've done that when I've tried it, and it's been really, really hard work. We've done things like in the late 90s, posting it on bookmark pages, like on category pages, on getting people to do reviews, like because that's how it's hard to believe there's no Google, there's no real search engines at the time. So you'd have to like get it positioned on pages that people would visit. Then in 2000s, like we would get SEO and backlinks and start working on search engine optimization. You know, like I've tried all of these other things. I've tried getting influencers. We had a music platform, getting really large musicians on there, and then trying to get them to talk about it on to their email lists or through when they were on TV and stuff. It was like pulling teeth. Nobody wanted to say, hey, I'm live streaming music in the early 2000s online. Nobody cared. And so like I've tried all these other things. We've tried ads. I've been very successful with ads in the past. I think everybody's getting beat up with ads right now, but that's just kind of like a maturation of a strategy kind of curve that we're on. I've tried all these things, and I've been successful at some of them, and I just have seen where the hardest work is where everybody's telling you to do a thing. It's not that it's too late for it to work. It's too late for it to have that meteoric success, right? When I used Google Ads, when Google Ads first came out, it was wildly successful. Like it was stupid, right? We spent $100 a month to get leads for manufacturing. That resulted in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work. But like at the time, people thought that Google Ads were regular search return results. And so they were just clicking on, well, like now today, Google Ads are very expensive. And like, could it be successful for me? Probably. My competitors use that. But that's a new technology versus eternal principle thing. What has always been successful for me through all the businesses that I've tried to create, through all the businesses that have been successful for me, is looking at it like this: is who am I going to do this with? Who am I going to do this for? And then figuring out what this is. So it's saying, who am I? What do I have to offer? Right? Who can I offer that with? And who are we going to offer it for? Like, those are three really great questions.
Yeah. And why are they going to do the collaboration with you? Because you got to know that going into it.
Yeah. And it's probably just something really simple like this, is that they have clout and access. You only have a couple of levers to pull in your life, right? And if your business is really successful, you can pull that equity lever. Hey, I'll give you shares of this company. But I'll tell you, for the most part, people don't care. I don't care about that in general, especially if somebody has no revenue. So you have this. You have this time talent lever, and you have this money lever, right? So you kind of pull a combination of these levers and say, I will pay you money in the future, right?
Right.
But for right now, I will spend all the time and I will spend all the effort. So I'll use all my skills and I'll put together a program that we can launch together. I'll do all the distribution of the content and we'll do it together. I will engineer the product. I'll work with the manufacturer. I'll buy the product. I'll warehouse it. I'll ship it. I'll fulfill it. I'll handle customer service. I'll do the marketing. I'll make the website. I'll do all of that. I just want you to put your name on it.
That's it. It needs to be that simple.
Yeah.
For them.
It needs to be that simple, where we're like, hey, I'll create a super high value product. We'll engage your audience using this strategy that Callie lays out. So we make sure that we build something that they really want. They're expecting it. They're hoping for it. They pre-order it and they love it. You're going to help develop it. You're going to help promote it. You're going to help bring it to them. You'll get paid, but I'll do all the work.
That's right.
And honestly, for most people, that's where you are, right? Your level of credibility is that of a technician. So you bring your technical skills to the entrepreneurial opportunity. And that's how you can elevate yourself from a follower to a peer, and you launch something with those people. You're going to have to do the work.
That's right. And then you move from peer to now you are the industry leader, the expert in that field, because you've got this guy that just said, hey, you want to build a product? Callie's your guy, right?
Yeah. And
that's it.
So if people are curious about what you would pitch somebody, that's what the next podcast episode is about. And I have a whole strategy around simple products to grow businesses. We call traction products, and it's going to kind of wreck people. But I'll leave a little bit of mystery on the table. Maybe we can talk about this next week, or you can listen to the Untitled podcast. But it doesn't have to be complicated. It actually should be very, very simple, so you can execute the strategy quickly, and then you can iterate. So it could be something like, hey, I'm going to do a live stream with you. I'm going to get you on the podcast. I'm going to help sell your product. I'd like you to get on the live stream to my audience. This is the third time I've done this. I'm going to get you on a live stream to my audience that I've built and sell your thing to my people. Just something to get your foot in the door, get the conversation started. And, it doesn't have to be super complicated tech product that's going to take 18 months to develop. It should be something that you could prototype in a week, right? Yeah. You could launch 100%. In a month. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, if you if you're interested in going and listening to the first 2 episodes of this series that Callie's doing, what we can do is, when we finish this, we can drop a link to that first episode, right? And then they can find the second episode. And if you follow along, there's 6, right? 6 episodes of the series.
Yeah, I'm just going to go through all 5 steps of the collaborative growth blueprint and put it at the high level. And just bear in mind, if you're watching this, you listen to the podcast, the podcast episodes, I'm keeping them really punchy, really short, so they're under 30 minutes. And I'm compacting what I normally would go for 10 weeks with somebody into this to just pull out this one thread. one thread. We're not talking about how to build an iconic brand, how to create magnetic offers that attract customers instead of having to push them to the market. We're not really talking about how to scale launches and how to scale operations and how you create that geometric growth and geometric scale in the business. What I'm doing is I'm taking that thread out of that 10-week program and I'm putting it so you can get, I think anybody could do this in like 2 weeks. You could start doing it. My gut check on this, right, is good strategies. You can start today. You can see value in them next week, and then they can change your life over time. So like that's really what I'm trying to do, is just pull this out. Super simple. You can start listening to them, and you can start on it. Absolutely start today. It will change the way you use social media. It'll change your business for sure. But
it's going to give you a lot of time back too, for me. Right? I mean, it's just the truth.
Yeah.
Because you eliminate all the crap that you said, oh, as a friend, or I know this person, I'm going to sign up for their group, I'm going to support them. Oh my God, now I'm in a sea of groups that I can't seem to freaking get out of.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, all right, that's perfect. Yeah, so we'll drop that link below to so that you guys can watch or listen to the first 2 episodes, and then follow along over the next 4 or 5 episodes, and you'll get the strategy, or you'll at least get a good piece of it, a good idea of it.
Yeah, if you have questions, comment on the video, and Corey will get a hold of me, or you can find me pretty much anywhere. We do this show every Saturday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we're building the audience for the show, like slowly trying to figure out where it fits kind of in our whole ecosystem. But I appreciate everybody for listening in. This has been fantastic. But yeah, get a hold of me if you have questions. That's how I develop content. Is I'm very feedback focused. I call it the customer first mindset. I really get the most value out of the questions that people have. So if there's a way that I can help, let me know. TM me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, my man. I'll see you next week.
All right. Later, brother.
Later. Well, kind of.